10 years of silent grief, broken by a servant's daughter. Looking at the portrait of her lost son, she whispers, "Sir, this boy lived with me in the shelter." For 10 years, the billionaire Harrison Cole lived like a ghost in his own house. His huge wealth was a hollow armor against the grief that devoured him. It was the anniversary of the loss that stole laughter from his halls. His son Ethan was just a memory, a smiling 4-year-old boy, imprinted on the portrait above the fireplace. The light is long gone. Then the sound broke this suffocating silence. The daughter of a new servant, a child in a place where children were a painful reminder. She did not look at a powerful, broken man. She was frozen. Her eyes were bound to the picture, and with her whisper, she struck a hammer on the stone tombstone of his heart. "Sir, this boy lived with me in the shelter. And before we start, where in the world are you looking today? Let me know in the comments." Enjoy the story. The forgotten portrait held the key to a decade of silence. Harrison Cole believed that his son would disappear forever, but the daughter of his new servant knew the secret hidden in the painted eyes. The large corridor of the Graywood estate was quiet. The only sound was the distant ticking of the French clock, counting the seconds of half-lived life. Harrison Cole stood in front of a massive limestone fireplace, a ghost in his own house. It was the anniversary. 10 years. 10 years since the laughter was stolen from these halls. 10 years since his son Ethan disappeared from the sunny city park. Harrison was a man who commanded the coast. His name was engraved on skyscrapers and vast coastal buildings. He was a billionaire, he was powerful, and he was completely broken. Wealth was armor, but grief was a cancer under it. His gaze, as always, was fixed on the portrait above the fireplace. It was a picture of a 4-year-old boy, ordered only a few weeks before he was taken away. The boy had dark, serious hair of Harrison, but bright, incredibly curious eyes of his mother. He was smiling. His little hand was squeezing a wooden ship. The artist captured the light in him, the light that was extinguished. A quiet sound. The rustling of the legs tore apart the suffocating silence. Harrison turned. His irritation was cold, a sharp blade. He gave strict orders. He should not have been disturbed. Not today. It was a new servant of Brenda, a quiet, obedient woman who started 2 weeks ago. She squeezed a rag for dust. Her face was pale with fear. She should not have been in this wing, and she was not alone. Hiding half behind her, a small, thin girl with big blue eyes and a wave of light hair looked at him. She seemed to be about 12 years old. "Mr. Cole, sir, I'm so sorry," Brenda whispered. Her voice trembled. "My car broke down this morning. I had no one. I told her to stay in the kitchen. Chloe, I told you." Harrison's look was icy. He didn't like children anymore. They were a painful reminder of a life that was not his. "The kitchen is downstairs, Brenda. Make sure she gets back there." "Yes, sir." "Run, come on, Chloe." Now Brenda's voice was a low, terrifying hiss. She pulled the girl by the hand, but Chloe did not move. She was frozen. She did not look at Harrison, the fireplace, or the vast, frightening room. Her eyes were bound to the portrait. Her head bent. Her expression changed from curiosity to deep, deep confusion. It looked like she was trying to remember a memory that did not belong to her. "Chloe," Brenda begged, pulling harder. "We need to go." The girl took one step, then another, leaving her mother and heading for the fireplace. She stopped right in front of the fireplace, looking up at the picture of a smiling 4-year-old boy. "Enough," said Harrison. His voice was not loud, but it sounded like a whisper. "This is a private room. You will leave." Chloe turned to him. Her face was dead pale. Her blue eyes were wide open, not out of fear of him, but from an amazing, impossible recognition. "Sir," whispered the girl, her voice trembled. "This boy, he lived with me in the shelter." The words echoed across the huge hall. Brenda made a suffocated cry. Her hand flew to her mouth. "Chloe, stop it. What are you talking about? This is Mr. Cowell's son. Apologize to him right now." The air came out of Harrison's lungs. The floor seemed to have collapsed. He felt his face bleeding, a cold, tingling sensation that left his head spinning. He grabbed the back of the leather chair. The face of the billionaire was pale. The headlines could scream. It was true. He felt sick. What did you say? His voice was hoarse. Chloe, you're wrong. Brenda was crying. Her eyes were in panic. She knew the story. Everyone who worked here knew. The indescribable tragedy of Harrison Cowell. This boy, he died many years ago. No, Chloe insisted. She trembled, but her gaze was firm. He did not die. He was in the house of St. Judas. I knew him. We called him Matvi. Harrison was tired. He saw the face of his wife, pale and thin on a hospital pillow. He left. Harrison let him go. He spent 10 years building a tomb around his heart. Now the 12-year-old girl took a hammer to break the stone. This is impossible, said Harrison. The words were empty. My son is dead. He is not dead, cried Chloe, offended by his tone. He was older when I knew him, but this is him. I know it's him. He had the same eyes. He was drawing all the time. Pictures of the ocean and a big brown dog. Harrison staggered. He physically staggered as if she had hit him. Brown dog. Friend. Chocolate Labrador. Shadow of Ethan. The detail is so specific, so personal. It has never been released to the press. The media knew. Abduction. They knew. A note demanding ransom. They knew. Presumably dead. They did not know. Friend, you're lying. He whispered, but the accusation had no power. I'm not lying. He was my friend. Chloe's eyes were filled with tears. He protected me. He was called the mute Matvi because he did not speak. Not for a long time, but he spoke to me. He said he was not an orphan. He said his real name starts with the letter I, but he could not remember it. He said his dad was rich and would come for him, but no one believed him. Brenda opened and cried. Mr. Cole, please. She's my adopted daughter. I received her from the house of St. Judas 3 years ago. I used to volunteer there. Harrison's head suddenly turned to Brenda. Did you adopt her? Yes, sir, said Brenda, wiping her eyes. She has been there for 5 years. I met her when I volunteered. I adopted her when I finally could. Please. She's sometimes confused. Harrison's mind worked at full capacity. Adopted from the house of St. Judas, the same place where he straightened his jacket. His hands were shaking so much that he squeezed them into his fists. Brenda, take your daughter to my office. Now he turned around and looked back at the portrait of a smiling boy. Lost light. He said his dad was rich and would come for him. 10-year ice around his heart began to crack. Harrison's office was a tombstone of a dark red tree and unread leather books. It smelled of old money and suffocated air. One lamp cast a puddle of light on a massive table. Brenda led Chloe to a hard chair with a backrest. Chloe sat on the edge. Her legs did not touch the carpet. Brenda stood by the door, twisting a rag for dust. Her eyes met between her daughter and the employer. Harrison Cole did not sit. He stood by a cold, unlit fireplace. His back was turned to him for a long time. He tried to breathe. 10 years. 10 years of ghosts. 10 years of slamming doors in front of hope. Because hope was a poison. It was what destroyed his wife. Eleonora pursued every trace, visited every clairvoyant, paid every swindler who promised vision. It emptied her until she became nothing but a fragile whisper. And then silence. Harrison chose a different path. He intoned his grief. He accepted adversity. And now this child is a 12-year-old girl with blue eyes and clear as winter sky. He turned. His face was a mask of control. Start from the very beginning. Do not miss anything. Chloe swallowed. The room was so quiet that she could hear the heavy ticking of her grandfather's clock in the corridor. I was 5 years old when I went to St. Jude's house. Chloe started. Her voice was quiet. I do not remember my biological parents. Mom Brenda. She's the only mother I ever had. I met her when she was a volunteer. She adopted me 3 years ago, but before that I was in St. Jude's house. And the boy, said Harrison. His voice was flat. Tell me about the boy. He was called Matvi, said Chloe. He was already there when I came. He was in the dormitory for the older boys. I think he was then maybe 9 or 10 years old. He was very quiet. The nuns called him mute Matvi because he did not speak. Not for a long, long time. Harrison's heart was pounding. Ethan was a talkative, bright, noisy child. Not my Matvi. What injury could have done this to the boy? He just sat by the window in the lounge. Chloe continued. Her gaze was distant, lost in memory. He drew. He drew all the time. He drew on pieces of paper, on napkins, once on the wall. And Agnes's sister was so evil. But he was good. He drew big houses and the ocean at home. Harrison's breath was intercepted. Beach house. And he drew a dog, said Chloe. Her voice fell. A big brown dog. He told me. After he started talking, he told me. What? Harrison's voice was sharp. What did he tell you? He told me he missed his dog. He said her name was Friend. Brenda let out a quiet sob and covered her mouth. Harrison felt his knees weakening. Friend. It was true. The detail was so small, so personal. He said, Friend loved to run on the beach, added Chloe, and chase seagulls. He said the dog barked and barked, but the birds were too fast. It was a perfect memory, a picture of the life that had been stolen. Harrison remembered it. A sunny day on the coast. Ethan was only 4 years old. He hysterically laughed while a friend was chasing a flock of seagulls by the water's edge. He said the dog barked and barked. How? Harrison said with difficulty. How do you know this boy? Matvey is the boy in the picture. His eyes. Chloe simply said, I never forget the eyes in that. She put her hand in the pocket of her simple dress and pulled out a small folded piece of paper. He was old. The folds were worn. It was a children's drawing. She stretched it to him. Harrison's hand trembled so much that he could barely take it. He turned it over. It was a rough drawing made with chalk. A figure of a little girl with yellow hair holding a taller figure of a boy by the hand. Above them is a large, poorly drawn dog with brown snails. He gave it to me. Chloe whispered. I cried because one of the older boys, Dennis, he tried to take my medallion. She touched the thin silver chain around her neck. Harrison's eyes followed the movement. Where did you get it from? He asked. From my grandfather. Chloe said. Her chin rose with a little pride. Mom's dad, Captain Ilya Reed. He is a veteran of the war. He came with his mother to volunteer in the house of St. Judas one day. He met me. He said I was a brave fighter. He gave me this medallion and told me never to forget it. Brenda said. Her voice was unstable. My father. He saw something in her. He told me. This is a fighter, Brenda. That's when I realized I had to adopt her. It took me almost a year to get the documents. Harrison nodded. Ilya Reed. He knew this name. A decorated local hero. A man known for his tough honesty and unyielding will. It was not a family of liars. Matvey gave me a drawing. Chloe continued, looking back at the paper in Harrison's hand. He didn't say anything to Dennis. He just stood in front of me. He looked at him. He didn't even look angry. He just looked like my grandfather sometimes looks. Dennis got scared and gave me the medallion back. Matvey gave me this drawing later. He said it was so that I would remember that I have a defender. Harrison looked at the drawing. Defender? His son, whom he could not protect. You said Brenda adopted you 3 years ago, said Harrison. His mind worked. What happened to Matvey? He ran away, Chloe said softly. It was about a week before my mother came for me. So yes, about 3 years ago. He got older. He would be 13 or 14 years old. He hated this place. He told me he was going to find his real home. He said he remembered the gates. Big black iron gates with a letter on them. Harrison's gaze flew to the window, to the massive, winding road and rusty iron gates at the entrance. Gates that carried one stylized letter S for coal. He told me he was going to find his dad, said Chloe. Her eyes were filled with tears, and then he disappeared. The nun said he ran away. I never saw him again. Harrison felt the tide of rage so powerful that he almost knocked him down. Rage at the kidnappers, at the police, at the world, and at this shelter, the house of St. Judas, said Harrison. His voice was low and dangerous. Where is he? He was already moving to his table, grabbing the phone. He will call his security chief, David. He will call the police commissioner. Sir, said Brenda. Her voice trembled with fear. This is something else. Harrison stopped, phone in hand. Chloe looked down. You can't go there, sir. It's gone. Gone? What do you mean by gone? He burned down, said Chloe. About a week after Matvey ran away. There was a big fire. Everything was destroyed. Records, rooms, everything. That's why my mom came for me so quickly. The district moved all of us, the children. She filed documents for adoption right on time. The room was quiet again, but it was not the silence of grief. It was the silence of conspiracy. The boy who knows too much is running away. A week later, the whole shelter, all the records, all the evidence of his existence burned to the ground. It was not a tragedy. It was a cleanup. Harrison looked at Chloe. She was just a child, but she was no longer just a servant's daughter. She was the only living connection to his son. "Brenda," said Harrison. His voice was cold and clear. "You and your daughter will not return to the staff room. You will move to the Eastern guest wing this evening." Brenda's eyes widened. "Sir, I don't understand." "You are no longer my servant," said Harrison. He looked at Chloe, at the scruffy drawing still in his hand. "You are under my protection, too," he said to Chloe. "Will you help me find my son?" The team was so absolute. Brenda could only nod. Her hand squeezed Chloe's shoulder. "Mr. Cole, you do not need." She began. "This is not a request of Brenda. This is a necessity." Harrison's voice was flat, interrupting her protest. "If what your daughter says is true, and I begin to believe that this is so, then she is the only living person who can identify my son. This makes her a target." The paint ran off Brenda's face. She did not think about it. Harrison saw a threat, an unfinished end in a 10-year plan. "Target?" Brenda whispered, pressing Chloe closer. "Fire?" asked Harrison. His mind worked like a cold engine. "Tell me about the fire." It was in the news," said Brenda, trying to remember. "They said it was an accident." "An accident. Old wiring. It was the main building. Administrative offices. It happened very late at night." "Offices," said Harrison. "Not dormitories." Chloe shook her head. "No, sir. We were safe. But Sister Agnes, the boss, she cried so much the next day. She repeated everything. Everything is lost. 30 years of history. All records are lost. That's when all the kids had to be moved. It was chaos." Harrison slowly nodded. "Surgery fire. An accident that conveniently destroyed only evidence." "It was not an accident. It was a message." "I need to talk to your father," said Harrison Brenda. "Captain Reed. He lives with you?" "Yes, sir. In our apartment. He is retired. He does not trust people easily, sir. Especially rich people." "Okay," said Harrison. A little gloomy smile appeared on his lips. "A person who does not trust easily, this is exactly what I need right now." He turned to his table. His decision was made. The fog of grief dissipated, replacing the goals with white-hot fire. "Brenda, take Chloe to the kitchen. My chief economist, Mrs. Davis, will give you food. I will ask my security chief, David, to meet you there. He will show you the Eastern Wing. You will not tell this to anyone from the staff. You will not answer any questions. Your job as a maid is over. Do you understand?" Brenda, frightened, but seeing the iron determination in his eyes, nodded. "Yes, sir." She began to take Chloe out, but Harrison's voice stopped them. "Chloe." The girl turned. Harrison walked around the table and awkwardly got on his knees. It was an unfamiliar movement. He has not been on the same level with the child for 10 years. The hope that he felt was so new that it was painful. "You made a very brave move today," he said. His voice was hoarse. "I just told the truth, sir," Chloe whispered. "Grandpa says the truth is a shield." Harrison stared at her. "The truth is a shield. He is a wise man. I need you to be brave a little more. I will ask David to talk to you. I need you to tell him everything you told me. Every single detail of Matthew. Can you do that?" Chloe squeezed her medallion and nodded. "Will you find him?" The question was so simple, so clear. He hit Harrison harder than any corporate negotiations. He got up. His face hardened into a mask of determination. "If he is alive," said Harrison Cole, "I will tear the world apart until I find him." Brenda and Chloe left. The heavy door closed behind them with a click. Harrison stood alone in the office for a long time. His hand was on the phone. He looked at the portrait. A smiling boy. "Ethan. Matthew. Did you protect her?" He whispered to the picture. "Now I will protect her. And I will find you. I swear on your mother's grave. I will find you." He raised the protected line on his table and pressed one button. "David, clear my schedule for the rest of the month." "No, I don't care about the deal in Tokyo. Cancel it. I have a situation in the estate. Personal business. I need to move the new maid Brenda and her daughter Chloe to the East Wing. They are my personal guests. Put 2 people on this wing. No one comes in and out without my permission." "Yes, David, I'm serious." He paused. He closed his eyes to the picture. And give me everything. And I mean everything about the fire in the house for the children of St. Judas 3 years ago. I want a police report, an insurance claim, an investigation of a fire marshal. And I want to know who owned this building. Now he pressed another button. Send a car for Captain Ilya Reed. Tell him it's about his granddaughter. Tell him it's an emergency. The kitchen was bigger than their apartment. Huge space of steel, marble, and hanging copper pots. Mrs. Davis, the loyal chief economist, was in the mix. Mr. Cole was very specific, said Mrs. Davis, putting 2 dishes with roast beef on the island. He said, "You will be treated as guests." It looked like a feast for Brenda. Mrs. Davis, Brenda began to break her arms. I don't know what's going on. It's none of my business to know, Brenda, said Mrs. Davis, not without kindness. And it's none of your business to ask. Eek. You both look like you've seen a ghost. Chloe, who was silent, looked at it. Maybe we saw it, she whispered. Before Mrs. Davis could answer, a man entered. He was in a dark suit. His eyes did not miss anything. He had a calm, dangerous presence. My name is David. I'm the head of Mr. Cole's security. If you come with me, I will show you your luxury apartment. My father. He's coming, said Brenda, her voice trembling. Yes, we sent a car for him. He will be brought to the office to meet Mr. Cole. I will take you to the East Wing. This is the safest place in the house. Safe? The word hung in the air, cold and heavy. The luxe apartment of the East Wing was peaceful, different from the staff room. It had a living room, a fireplace, and 2 large bedrooms. Chloe approached the window. It went out into a huge, dark garden. Mom, said Chloe, I'm scared. Brenda hurried to her side, hugging her tightly. Everything is fine, baby. We are safe. Mr. Cole, he just wants to find his son. You did a good thing. David stood by the door. A man is on duty in the corridor for your protection. Please do not leave the luxe apartment. Your food will be delivered to you. Brenda nodded. Her face was pale. This is like a prison. This is a safe room, madam, said David. Mr. Cole believes that the memory of your daughter made you both very valuable and very vulnerable. Good evening. He closed the door, and they heard a soft click of the lock. In the office, Harrison stood opposite Captain Ilya Reed. Ilya was over 70. He was thin and winded, with a steel spine and piercing blue eyes in which there was no fear. The billionaire did not impress him. My daughter is in your house, said Ilya. His voice was firm. She called me in tears. She said, you put the guards at her door. I don't like that my family is kept under guard. Captain Reed, thank you for coming. They said, please sit down, I will stand, said Ilya. They are not kept under guard, said Harrison. They are under protection. Protection from what? From you. You, rich people, think you can just buy people, move them like figures on a board. It has nothing to do with my money, said Harrison. His voice was low. This has to do with my son. Your granddaughter. She thinks she knew him. Ilya's facial expression was calm. I know what you said. Chloe is not lying, but she is a child. It's sad, Mr. Cole, but probably a mistake. She knew about his dog, said Harrison. Ilya froze. She knew his name was Buddy, said Harrison. She knew he was chasing seagulls on the beach. It was not in any newspaper. It was a private family memory. The old captain's eyes narrowed. As a military man, he understood the value of facts. A brown dog, said Ilya. She told me about the boy, about who protected her, about who drew the pictures. Your granddaughter, said Harrison. The first reliable trace I had in 10 years. She told me that St. Jude's orphanage burned down 3 years ago, just a week after my son Matthew ran away. Ilya Reed was not a fool. He survived the war, learning to feel the trap. Fire, said Ilya. To hide traces. Burn records. Exactly. Which means that the one who took my son knows that he was there. And if they find out that the little girl remembers him, that she can recognize him, then the girl is a target. An unfinished end. The old fighter looked at the billionaire. For the first time, they were not 2 people from different worlds. They were 2 people with a common goal. What's your plan? Asked Ilya. My security chief, David, is going to interrogate Chloe. I would like you to be there. She trusts you. She will need you. What are you doing? I'll find out who lit the match, said Harrison. David went in with a file, looking at Harrison and the captain. Sir, preliminary report on the fire. Go on, said Harrison. St. Jude's Orphanage. The fire was 3 years ago. The official report, signed by Marshall Petters, admitted it to be accidental. Faulty wiring. The building was completely burned down. An accident, said Harrison. I checked Marshall Petters, said David. His voice was flat. He filed for resignation 2 weeks later after signing this report. He moved to a condominium on the shore in Florida. Paid in cash. Bought a 40-foot fishing boat. Also cash. For the salary of the fire marshal. Ilya made a low, gloomy sound. He was bribed. Cleaning.